Good time. Kitty. Good time. Good time. Careful. Here, go this way. Hold on. Go this way. Come on. Come. Go that way. There you go. Woo. Was that from you? My goodness. My goodness, that was a loud sneeze. Goodness. No sick kitties. No sick kitties. That's what I want. Any sick kitties. No sick Hi, I am Bee, and I am the hostess of the Spinning Winter podcast. Welcome. This is a podcast for specifically family and friends and anyone who wants to go along the fiber crafting journey with me. You will find little bits and pieces of knitting, spinning, weaving, tatting, and other handcrafts on this podcast. I do them all sporadically, and you are welcome to see the little things that happen in so loud. You're so loud in day-to-day life. This is Riley. He is my companion for today, as he is cold and he has made himself perfectly comfortable on my lap. We are coming to you on a very gray, very windy, very wet day from the northeastern USA. We have been alternating between being pleasantly chilly and alternatively warm. Yeah. Every day we go into the 30s at night and come out into the 60s roughly during the day. It's been very, very pleasant for sweater wearing and all the woolly, warm things. We've been enjoying t-shirts and shorts and then happily bundling under covers at night. So it's a perfect combination. Today I have book acquisition to show you, as well as knitting, a tiny bit of spinning, and weaving related things, although I'm not sure if I will actually be able to show you any weaving in action. So without further ado, we'll get into a bunch of different things. So, you settled now? So, to talk about the weaving related things and the book acquisition as one, I have to tell you a little bit about how I got my loom. So I am considered a very, very beginning weaver. I took a couple of lessons from a master weaver on an old German rug loom, which was a gorgeous handmade loom from the late 1800s, painted green posts, some spots of yellow still on it, and then natural wood. And it was already set up, already warped and ready for me to go. So I had no clue what I was doing, and my lessons consisted of the master weaver describing to me what I needed to do, and that she would come and check on my work whenever she was available, which is fine because that was kind of like learning from a very funny, very kind-hearted book, and then having that book come and check up on you. She was wonderful. I wish I was still in contact with her because I have so many questions, but she ended up going back to Europe where she was from for several different reasons, and I was unable to stay in contact with her because we moved and I didn't have her phone number. I only knew her through the museum that I worked at the time. But it was all around a good experience. I wove a rug, and according to what she told me, I did pretty well for a beginner. And weaving bit me on the butt. I liked it, and I knew that I wanted a loom. I knew I wanted to weave. I did not know how I was going to accomplish that. After moving, found out that there was not a guild nearby from which to learn, and the museum that is closest is about an hour away, and they do have looms. They do have people who weave on the looms, but they are not in my area, which was a little disappointing to find out. However, I did get to meet a weaver there who is a beautiful person. I believe her name was Hildy, and I enjoyed talking with her, and she encouraged me to keep trying to weave on my own, even though she said it was easier with a human being. So since human beings were not available to me, I decided to jump in and go at it right away, which in hindsight was probably not the smartest move, but it worked out pretty well in my favor. So where I live, weaving is the area of the US I live in. Weaving is alive and well. It is a handcraft that has never been put aside or never been lost because it never left. And even though I have no clue what I was doing, there are many people in the area who did, and even though when I first moved I wasn't able to reach out to them, I was able to purchase books and find, information on YouTube and places like that to get me started. The problem with living in the area where a craft is alive and well, and a part of the world that still acts a little bit is kind of 20 years behind in the slowness of the way of living, is that people don't throw things away, which is good. They keep things and they maintain them and take care of them and pass on their skills and pass on their craft and their equipment to the next generation. What that means for me in practicality is that it is very, very difficult to get a used loom in this part of the country. Not because they're not available, but because the turnaround time for something like that is 24 hours being posted online, if it even gets posted online before it sells, and if not, it's by word of mouth. So if you are not a part of the group that has the word of mouth aspect under lock and key, you're not going to be a part of the selling world. And I am currently not a part of the selling world. I don't know enough people who like to do what I like to do. So I tried for a year and a half after moving to find a loom, and every possible opportunity fell through. Everything sold out from under me. Some things were too far away, and some things I couldn't get transportation for with how far away they were. And, I was a little disappointed, I'm not gonna lie. I prayed about it a lot. I really, really wanted to loom. And because I'm in the middle of nowhere, it takes a minimum of an hour to get to any other, what you would consider a city, and it's like 2 hours from real civilization. I would say 2 hours from real civilization. Wonderful thing happened. I was online and was looking on a Facebook group and noticed that someone was selling a beautiful loom that needed some TLC and was willing to sell it at a very reasonable price. And when I contacted them, they were very accommodating and so sweet. And I told them I would love to purchase this loom, but if someone comes along who can buy it and take it away right then and there, please, please let them have it, because I don't know when I'm going to be able to move it out of your house. I have the money, I just don't know when I'll be able to get the transportation. I only knew one person at that point in this area that had a large enough truck to move something of that size, and with their job, there was no way they were going to be able to help me in a reasonable amount of time, which was a little sad. However, I found someone else who did have a truck who was willing to loan it to me and actually helped me drive several hours away from the middle of nowhere to another point in the middle of nowhere and to a very tiny house, a very old, very tiny house that the loom was in. And when we got there, this loom was just chilling and it was calling my name. Like, it looked like it needed a little more TLC than I thought I had experience to give it, because I have no experience. But it was just calling to me. So I got it. We somehow, with 4 people, managed to move this thing from a very tiny room with like 1920s size doors through a garage and out into a pickup truck, which was very stressful and exciting all at the same time. I am not going to lie, there were several points in time I feared for the integrity of the loom. Now that I know more about the manufacturer, I know that I should not have had those worries and I should not have had those concerns, because it is incredibly well built. But at that point in time, it was very stressful. So we managed to slide this thing up into the truck, managed to drive it all the way back to where I live, get it out of the truck and into the garage, and that's when I realized I had bitten off way more than I could chew. I took vacation time to go get this loom because I knew I would want to get it all done and squared away. And silly me, I had this in my mind. In my mind, my thought was, I can do this. I will just put forth all this time, all this effort, and in like less than 2 days, I will have a loom that is worked and ready to go, right? Wrong. Failure is an option in some cases. It took me 4 out of the 5 days that I had taken off to pull this loom apart piece by piece, because I remember I had no idea what a loom was, how to take care of it, any of that stuff. I had to take pictures on how to put it back together. I could not tell like lambs from jacks, treadles from pedals, or even something as simple as heddles versus shafts. Like, I had no clue what I was doing. I was a complete beginner. The lessons that I had were on how to do one part of a huge picture. Thank God I am oblivious to things like that and just go straight for it, because after stripping this apart and cleaning everything, I de-rusted everything, polished everything. There was a little bit of mold on the bottom of the loom that I had to take care of, and stuff like that. So after 3.5 days of cleaning this loom and putting it back together, I realized I had to get it into the house somehow. And when you have a house that's built in the 50s or the 60s and it has small doors and a 1950s size hallway that is built for not a big loom going through, so I was very lucky. I have a brother with muscles who is able to help me move this loom. And in case you're wondering, if you put a loom on plastic, you can slide it just about anywhere on its side, and get it to where it needs to go. So we slid it through the whole house, just the 2 of us, to get it through the 1950s size hallway, through the 1960s size door, into the 1950s size room, where it will remain until we move again, because there is no way on God's green earth that we are moving that anywhere else. Somebody suggested we put it in the basement. I was like, you try and get it down there, because not happening at all. So we managed to do that, and it was a labor of love from start to finish, and a whole new learning curve for me. Facebook was surprisingly very helpful with figuring out how to do group projects on cleaning things and breaking it down so that I could do it. So if you ever need help restoring or cleaning up a loom, I have like a ton of bookmarks, if you ever want to know what they are, to little links and little things like how to take tarnish off of brass jacks, or how to clean lambs once they've been rusted together. All these wonderful things. You know, what's a heddle? How's it differ from a shaft? You can learn all these things from the links that I continually kept clicking on. So if you ever need help with a loom, I'll send you stuff. Just direct message me. So anyway, I ended up at the end of this with a B4D, which is a size 48 weaving width folding Maycumber jack loom that is absolutely beautiful. It was built in 1987 for the woman who sold it to me. So it's only had one owner before me, or two owners before me, I'm sorry. She purchased it off of the original owner. And so it's not a very old loom by any means, 87. It's only, 35 years old? So Maycumber has a very, very long history of looms in the U.S. I believe they're in New York or Maine. I don't know. I can't remember anymore. But they are a fantastic company that is still alive and still well and still working. They have Linda and Eddie specifically, whom I've contacted. Eddie actually builds the looms, and Linda is a wonderful researcher and such a helpful person. She goes through their archives and she can tell you who purchased the loom first and what they bought with it and all the things like that. And they can still make parts for all of the looms because they still have essentially all the building materials, the plans of how everything was made and put together. So even if you have some of the original looms, like there's the original looms, I'll put a picture up, but the original looms came from a specific place, and they have a specific type of plate on the side. They can even make replacement parts for those looms because they were incredibly foresighted in keeping all the details to each loom that they made. Each loom has a plaque on it with an indicator of the size and type of loom. So the B4 is a folding loom. The D means it's 48 inches of weaving width, and then a serial number to go with it. So my serial number is somewhere in the, I want to say the 5,000s, 5,800s, somewhere there. So mine is the 5,800th and something loom that they made after they started labeling them, which is really cool because you can always go back and kind of see the history of where your loom came from, maybe have an idea of who the original owner was. And that is really cool to me that someone thought that far ahead. So like I said, not very old loom as far as their looms go. They've been making them since I think the 20s they've been making them. But it was exciting to find out that I had not only purchased a usable loom with a little TLC, but a loom that has craftsmanship behind it that is steady and has been known and is loved. There's a lady that I follow, Christina, on Instagram, and she has, I think currently 3 Maycumbers of different weaving widths that she uses. She sold all of her other looms fairly recently, but those 3. She's a Maycumber girl all the way, and that tells me a lot that someone who weaves for a living and has yardage and stuff like that, weaves yardage, this is the company that she trusts. And I know there are many other makers out there who have a wonderful history, like Luette and Shacked and different smaller area looms that are hard to get now because they don't exist. The makers don't exist anymore. But I am so happy that I was able to find one that I can still contact the people who make things and be like, hey, I need new aprons, because I do need new aprons. Just saying. I still haven't gotten them yet because I haven't ordered them yet, but I do need new aprons. So, long story to tell you about my book acquisition without moving the kitty. Ugh. Hello. I hope this focuses, but I was able to get a beautiful copy of Mary Atwater's Shuttlecraft Book of American Hand Weaving for a steal online. Now, this is the 7th edition, which came out in 1966. It is not the original edition, which I believe was in 1928. But this is a wonderful, wonderful book. I can see why people do not get this book up. It is a wealth of information and has such an amazing insight into the heritage and history of the craft, as well as just amazing and beautiful contents. So, for instance, as I drop things out, here is a draft I would love to follow. I would love to create something that has this heritage behind it. I absolutely love this book and find it amazing. She goes through everything such as tabby, warp-faced weave, how to do plain weave, what plain weave looks like, what plain weave should look like, all the different styles of patterns, and she does that through the eye of someone treasuring historical patterns. So for this one, this is one of my, she's talking about the choice of materials, and she goes through on this campaign for like why you should weave coverlets out of cotton, and about the composition of it and the history of it. So she goes into how in colonial times, colonial period, cotton was unobtainable, so they tended to use linen. But how, because linen is heavy and colder and more for summer things than for winter things, they adjusted to use wool, and how eventually the British embargo on the shipment of yarns to the colonies was raised, and the South began raising more and more cotton, and then when it became relatively plentiful, they started using linen more for summer weaves once again, which it was more suited for, and started to weave with cotton. So this is one of the patterns that she shows with a beautiful cotton pattern done in cotton, which I would love to imitate. This book focuses mainly, from what I have seen, on the history of more so the coverlets is what Meigs Atwater was interested in, was the coverlets for the sake of North American weaving. She was mostly interested in the history of it in America as a whole, and the influence that the old world had on the new, and how this new wave of weaving was begun through the coverlets, and how it is a distinctly American craft, the coverlet weaving that she talks about in here. And I find that so intriguing because for me, American woven coverlets are why I want to weave. They are the things that really piqued my interest in weaving. So starting on that rug and finishing that rug was fun because I was learning a new skill, but I don't want to make rugs. That was not why I wanted to learn how to weave in the first place. I wanted to learn how to weave because I saw old style colonial coverlets that just fascinated me and brought my imagination alive, and I loved the complexity and the beauty behind them so much. So like, this is a single chariot wheel right here. I would love to be able to weave something like that. And with the loom that I have, I can't do like a jacquard or things like that, but I can weave what I want to weave with this loom. I can weave overshot. I can weave summer and winter. I can weave Atwater Bronson and Huck. And those are the things that I love. Those are the things that I want to do. These are the things that I want to make. I have always wanted to make blankets and shawls and scarves that are woven. And I blame that on my parents and the wonderful education that I was given growing up, because I remember when I was younger, textiles always intrigued me. We would go to, one of the first memories I have was of going to Henry Ford Museum and Greenwich Village, and looking, and that's in Michigan, and watching these crafts come to life. And that combined with the people that were closest to me growing up, who were knitters, crocheters, and sewers, just left a legacy to me that I have been striving to find information and knowledge on, to create things for my whole life. People are the thing that intrigue me about history. How they act and react towards things, how they're, despite how technology evolves and our world changes, human nature does not change. And I find it incredibly engaging to see how someone in the 1700s, they wove a coverlet like this because they needed to. They wove a coverlet like this because they needed something to go on their bed, and they still had a sense of beauty and something that they wanted that was pretty. And with the resources that they had, they created it, and it was a matter of pride for them, but it was also a matter of being able to show your skills and the ability to provide for your family. And at the be all end all, I can make this same coverlet on a loom, and I don't need to. I don't need to make this. It's not a matter of survival. It's not a matter of pride for me. It's not a matter of showing my ability to provide for my family. It's because the inherent beauty in these things and the human need to create something that lasts is inherent from human to human. The wanting to leave your legacy behind in some way and to feel connected, I think. Being able to look at things like this and to do things like weaving, like knitting, is brings a feeling of connection from generation to generation. So even though the two people who taught me how to knit and how to crochet are gone from my life, they have passed on valuable skills to me, simply by being willing to share what was shown them growing up, which I find fascinating. I think it was Montague who said that humanity, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, that humanity, the human nature doesn't change. The angers and the hurts, the little jealousies and things, they don't change from generation to generation, from era to era. They're the same, but how humans express it varies based on the environment. And I think that's just so neat. Just really, really intriguing to me. So, back to the loom that I got. My foresight, as you can tell, was very lacking. And my skills, I knew, were nowhere on par with what I wanted to do. So I was smart enough to go online, whereupon I found Petrasfiberroom on Etsy, and she is freaking amazing. So she puts very, very reasonably priced kits together and drafts for weaving. So I found her and purchased 2 of her weaving kits. And thank God I was foresight enough to do this, because that last day, that 4th day, while I was waiting to move the loom into the house, I got out the warping board and I wound my warp, and I did that on the 4th day, and I spent the 5th day doing tie-ups, slaying the reed, and everything else. I got everything done on the 5th day, and I think I even stayed awake long enough to weave 1 or 2 pattern repeats. I was so happy about that. It's amazing how the little things really make your day. So the only reason I was able to do that was because Petrasfiberroom comes with incredibly detailed instructions on how to do things, which is very good. And the good thing is she literally writes it, like everything is written out, and it's very well done. She has planned the whole project for you from start to finish, tells you exactly what you need, gives you the weave structure, the equipment listing, provides you, if you buy the kit instead of just the draft, she gives you whatever materials you need to be able to create your masterpiece, gives you warped and weft spacing, warp length and order, and accounts for take up and shrinkage. So that is incredibly helpful. And then literally, I wish I could show you this, but she goes piece by piece. Thread the warp this way. After threading, slay this way. Tie on this way. Tie up your treadles this, like she literally lists everything off. So if you are beginning or inexperienced, you can take her resources that she provides you and you can do everything from start to finish without crying, which is wonderful. So she does provide you with video tutorials if you need them. She gives you your project calculations all laid out on a worksheet, so you can see everything from shafts to treadles, set, the amount of shrinkage that she's accounted for, what your beginning width is, what the finished width is and length of your item. She even counts out the heddles that you need for you and how many on which shaft. So I found that incredibly helpful. And then she provides you the actual draft itself, including pattern balance, which I didn't even know was a thing until I started to do this. And then she provides you with just the treadling draft only, still with the pattern balance if you need it. Just very thoughtful, very well thought out. Very quick shipping on the materials. So plug for Petrasfiberroom. I found it incredibly helpful. I bought 2 kits from her to start. I bought one that was called Lund, which is a Swedish lace scarf, yes. And it is in this beautiful natural creamy white. And this is the pattern that when I saw it, I just went, I am going to weave that. I don't care if it looks ugly by the time I'm done. So I put it together and my selvages look horrendous. In fact, I don't think I took any pictures which show the selvage clearly, simply because I was so ashamed of the selvage. But I was so happy to weave something that to me was just so gorgeous. I'm okay with it. And then when I got done with that, I realized how little I knew about life and realized that even the simple things like beat and picks per inch are no joke in the weaving world, and that I needed to get way better than that. So I started on the 2nd kit that I got from her, which is called Turin, and I'm going to show you it. And I'm going to show you the wrong side because I was so ashamed of the front side. Here's the thing though, I'm not really ashamed of it. I made a lot of mistakes. Right here, okay, those aren't yours to play with. Right here, and I hope this focuses, but you can see on the bottom 2 repeats of the pattern, And this has not been wet finished at all, so it still needs to go through that. But on the bottom 2 repeats of the pattern, you can see my picks per inch were definitely off. You can tell I was a newbie. I was beating way too hard with the batten and had no clue what I was doing. So then I leveled out and you can see it in the upper part of the pattern where it squares out the way it's supposed to be, because that is 22.5 picks to the inch, which is what it's supposed to be. So my selvages, as you can see, they are absolutely nothing to write home about at all. And if I open this up, you can see that there are so many things I did wrong. I broke a work thread. I had to look up how to fix it. What did I do? Oh, I did not do anything correctly when it came to, you're gonna laugh, when it comes to tying on your warp, I killed it. Like, I literally killed it. I killed it so hard. There was no way, there was just no way it was gonna be right. So not only are my selvages poor, they are poor because you could literally push this far down on one side of the warp and only this far down on the other side. Like, I'm fairly certain it's because I shrank the aprons in the wrong way and they're wonky. And that's my fault. And I didn't replace them because I didn't realize how important they were. So I'm pretty sure one side of my piece is longer than the other side, and it is what it is. But it was a learning experience, and I'm probably not going to do that again. So while I would never show this to a master weaver by any means, and I won't gift it to any, I mean, there's just, it's hanging out the side because it can. I actually, because the tension was so bad, where is it? You have to see this. Because the tension was so bad, I missed one whole thread all the way through. Like, that's how poor the tension was. That by the time I got past this point, I hadn't realized it, so I have to cut that off and sew it in. Oh, the trials of a beginning weaver. But I am, while I'm would be ashamed to show this to a master weaver, I am so incredibly proud that I made something that is so soft and so pretty, and I will wear this with pride, although I will not gift it to my grandmother like I had intended. I will wear this with pride because I made it, and with all of its flaws, with all of the problems with it, it is still something that is valuable. And so I might not use it to enter into an awards show or a prize of any sort, unless it's the beginner prize. Everyone starts somewhere. I always start with something that I want to weave or that I want to create. I don't believe in starting with materials that I do not like. If I don't like it, I won't finish it. And if I try to create with cheap things, I know that I will just stop. So when it came to weaving, I knew even if I was gonna mess it up, I wanted to work on something beautiful, which is what I did. And since then, I have made several better, not perfect, but better scarves than what I have here. And my goal is to weave my own scarves, shawls, and coverlets, blankets, and things like that, because that's what I want to do. That's what drew me to the craft. So I will hopefully continue to get better. Do you have any advice? I am content with where I am at. And I know I have a lot of learning to go, but if you have any advice that would help with that, I am all ears. Like, so many ears to hear. If you are a weaver, what was your first project like? And was it a positive or negative experience? And why did you pick up weaving? Why was it something that you wanted to do? Post it below. I'm very curious. I always wonder about other people's stories because people intrigue me. So, moving on from weaving, show you a little bit of spinning. I was going to show you 2 things or 3 things, but I don't have it all here. And I probably talked way too much about weaving, but you can skip all that if you want to. So, I was working on a project on a shawl spin with Wound Up Fiber Arts, who's Trisha, in Rock Garden and Dig Deep on Polworth Sill, which is a beautiful, beautiful vase. And I ordered more spindles than I needed from Liz, of Greensleeve spindles. I don't even have the card to show you because I'm trapped and I forgot it. But when I get an order from Liz, like, I don't open, I don't pull everything out. I pull things out one at a time, and I savor them until they become my old friend, and then I keep spinning on them, and I pull out a new friend, and I make another friend, because her spindles are just that gorgeous. So this one was the first one I pulled out of the box, and I don't even remember. I think there's another one. I'm pretty sure I got 2. There's another one in the box. And I haven't even looked at it yet because I'm so fascinated with this one. I just keep spinning on it. So this is from Liz of Greensleeve Spindles. And this is a Marines Molnir in cherry and wormy flame box elder with a mahogany shaft. She has a 3-inch whirl and a fast, long spin. She is simply to die for. And look, so she does what's called fancy pants on the bottom with a lot of her things. I think the Molnirs come with the hollowed out bottom anyway, but they fit so much on them. This little girl she's 0.7 ounces, which is perfect because I can't really use anything above 0.8 now. I'm allowed to use 0.9 only for a short, limited period of time. So I try to steer clear of those guys. But just look at that. Just look. It's so flippin' gorgeous. Each one is one of a kind and unique. And then, of course, Trisha's fiber. Trisha's fiber is to die for. Like a beautiful pairing. So I'm still working on this spin, and I wanted to show you. I'm thoroughly ashamed of the amount of spindles that I have, but I have not enough shame to stop using and or purchasing them because they're so beautiful. There's nothing not to love about a gorgeous piece of workmanship that you can use your whole life. There's nothing wrong with that, as I'm justifying, and I'm going to keep justifying. So in terms of wheel spinning, I do spin on a wheel. I do have currently 3 wheels, one of which is an Ashford Kiwi one, which I got 3 or 4 years ago. That was in well-loved condition, and I have been spinning on her for that amount of time, and I'm currently doing another shawl spin on her. And this is also Trisha of Wound Up Fiber Arts. This is the Chasing Dreams colorway, which is gorgeous. Also on Polworth Silk. Polworth is really a flexible fiber, I just have to say. You can get it all floofy and cozy and warm, or you can get it all like sleek and sexy and lacy. Like, you can do whatever you want with Polworth, and it's happy. So I have fit 4 ounces of fiber currently onto 2 of my Ashford Kiwi bobbins. You can see I arranged them differently, but these both are holding 4 ounces of fiber. And I have a 3rd braid that I am currently in the process of spinning up. And this will be something. Some sort of cozy shawl-like thing. Don't know what it will be yet. Probably something by Greta Munson. She's probably my top favorite shawl designer. I'd say probably top favorite. Yeah, I'm positive. And it will turn at some point in time into something. But while I am waiting for that to happen, did you know kitties are heavy? They really are. They're cute, but they're heavy. I don't know if you can even see him right now, but he's just all stretched out and chilling. It's lucky he's cute. So last week, let's try that again. Last podcast episode, I showed you my mostly finished stock in Baah Golden Slumbers. That is, okay, you can't play with that. That's not yours. That is, okay. Calm down. No, not yours. So this is my Baah in Golden Slumbers and Under Lock and Sea. And this is just my own recipe that fits my foot on size 0 US or 2.00 millimeter. Anyway, keep getting distracted. It is between 80 and 72 stitches, depending on where you look, with a regular heel flap and gusset. The decoration on it is of my own design, and it is 2 purl stitches, 1 knit stitch, 2 purl stitches, a 3x3 cable or a 6-stitch crossover cable, and another 2, 1, 2 of the same pattern, and then just regular stock in it because I like the colors in this. It reminded me of my grandma's 1970s house to a T, and I just loved it. So I told you last time we had a tornado, Hobby Lobby doesn't exist, and I couldn't find any darning needles. So don't know why I didn't think of this before, but this wonderful Marilyn is her name. She commented on the last episode and she was like, well, look at this video. In this video, which Marilyn sent me, there is a woman who has figured out how to Kitchener without a darning needle. Gasp, shock, and awe. You can Kitchener without a darning needle. Marilyn, you saved my life. Hillary, who is a wonderful sweetheart and has commented several times. Thank you, Hillary. I'm glad I'm getting to meet you. Hillary and I were both shocked and like, why have we never thought of this before? I will link the video below because it is amazing. It's like watching magic happen. You know what happened right after Marilyn sent the video? Found them. Will I use them now? No, because this magical video has saved my life and I will never need to carry around a darning needle for Kitchenering sock toes ever again. Just won't need it. Thank you, Marilyn. So I am going to try to Kitchener this without a darning needle. Surprise, surprise. And see how that goes, and I will report back. Meanwhile, if you remember my deep disappointment over not being able to Kitchener the toe and completely try on my lovely new sock that I was super happy about because it looks like my grandma's 1970s house, I started on the other sock. So I am currently past the heel flap and gusset and working my way down the foot of the second sock I'm very impressed with myself, I must say. I am really enjoying this. And if you notice, this sock is not the same as that sock outside of the design. And that is not by fault, that's just because I can never remember what I did, so I just do whatever I want with each sock. However, they have come out to be the same length and the same size around, so I don't really care. Isn't that great? That's great. So, same thing, heel flap and gusset and all that fun stuff. I already told you what I did, but oh, the top I didn't cast on the same way. So I only cast on with like 76 stitches instead of 80 stitches. You can tell. You can tell the difference at the top. But the leg is mostly the same. Sort of. Not really, but sort of. So, I am fast on my way to being done with my golden slumber socks, which I am excited for. They are currently being housed in my homemade by Grandma bag because my grandmother loves me. Thank you, Grandma. She and Grandpa traveled to Africa when they retired. They were both teachers for a very long time. And when they retired, they had decided that they were going to travel the world. So they have been all over the place, all over Asia. They've been to Russia. They've been through all of Europe, parts of the Middle East, Africa, South America, just everywhere. They've traveled everywhere because they love travel. And one of the things that they do is, my grandma is a sewer. So everywhere she goes, she picks up a little bit of fabric. And just enough to make something fun, either for Christmas presents, or if she wants to make a matching set of shirts or something like that, or scarves for her and Grandpa. And one Christmas, she was wondering what we wanted, and I told her I would love if she made me a project bag. So she did. She let me pick out the fabric, the interior and the exterior. So this is my Grandma and Grandpa bag, and I call it my Grandma and Grandpa bag because Grandpa and I both like blue, and we were both partial to this lining, which I don't know if you can tell. It probably looks gray to you, but it's not. It's blue. And it's so pretty. And it's all handmade with love. And it has a little handle so I can carry it around and I can knit. Hangs perfectly so I can knit on the go. This bag has been all over the place with me. All over the place. You cannot beat things that are made with love. You really can't. They're special in a way that you just can't put your finger on. Yep. So, Grandpa and I unanimously decided that this was our favorite bag that Grandma has ever made, and I am currently the only grandchild with a present that no one else has. Everyone else got something that was still unique and still handmade by Grandma, but I have the only completely unique gift. My grandma is amazing. She has 19 grandchildren, and she has made a quilt for every single one of us for high school graduation, and they are all full-size, fully pieced quilts. There were 5 of us that graduated in the same year, and she managed to somehow make 5 quilts. And every single year she makes us something handmade. In 2019, she made all the girls infinity scarves with silk. Yes, with silk. They're 2-tone silk scarves. We each got 2, and we each got them in colors that were specific to us. So nobody got the exact same thing. So I got a light blue and a dark green blue, and then my cousin Sarah got the same light blue scarf, but she got a different pink scarf from my dark blue. And so everybody has their own unique thing. We take family pictures with them and stuff. I remember one year she made us all the same fleeced fleece pullover. Every family got the same color with their initials on it. So one family got red, one blue, purple, all that type of thing. And she's just amazing like that. I don't know how she's managed to think of so many gifts over the past, gosh, 22 years. She's been doing this at least 22 years. She's been gifting families and each of the grandkids something handmade. They're just, it's precious, the different things that she's given us. And she does a wonderful, wonderful job. So when I am done with those socks, and I'm sure I will be done with them before I show you anything ever again, I am going to cast on another set of socks. And I'm going to use the same under lock and see skein for contrasting heels, toes, and cuffs. But it is going to be with this beautiful Baah in the coconuts colorway. I hope you can see that. It's just a beautiful colorway. It's got all these pretty dark tones in it and gray, browns, little splotches. It's got little touches of bright orange in there and little flecks of magenta. Like they're the tiniest little things. They're the things that make you so excited to knit the next row and see where it's going to end up. So fascinating. And then they've got these big blobs of dark. I just love it. So I'm probably going to cast these on before I see you next. I'm definitely going to cast these on before I see you next. Just had to tell you that. I'm thinking, Hitomi does Japanese stitch knitting Bible. I really love it. So I'm thinking I'm going to find something fairly open and simple because this is a darker colorway. So not much is going to show like that other pair of socks that I'm working on with her in that lighter July 21 colorway that I have from Baah yarns. So I'm thinking something very simple. I don't like lace on socks. I live in a cold place and I want my socks to be warm all the time. I don't want any holes of any sort. So I think I'm going to look at another twisted stitch pattern, but probably one of her more simple crisscross cables. The last one I did was very intricate, and I think I want to steer away from the super intricate and go for the more open look. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that. So last but not least, I have a gift knit, which if you follow me on Instagram, you will know that I made a huge oops with this knit. I mean, ginormous oops. So this is the Cragside by Stella Ackroyd. It is a typical triangular shawl with a beautiful open lace pattern. It is out of Laine yarns, their Puno base, which is 55% extra fine merino, 30% baby alpaca, and 15% silk. And it is absolutely scrumptious. Like, to squeeze this is just amazing. It's so delicious. So this is the cake as it currently stands. It started out with very dark green and goes all the way to a lime green in the middle. So it starts at a dark olive and then morphs its way through because it is a gradient yarn. It is 800 meters. I want to say 800 meters. And the shawl that I am knitting, this Cragside shawl, is supposed to be 750 meters. Right? Yeah, 750 meters. And I have just enough. So I'm knitting it pretty loosely. I'm not too worried because for me, I usually have just a touch left over when it comes to knitting a shawl. And I shouldn't say never. I swatch for test knitting. That's about it. I swatch for test knitting because I want to be kind to the pattern designer, and also it's a responsibility of the test knitter to swatch properly before casting on, no matter how excited they are, because the whole point of test knitting something for a test knitter is that you do it properly from the beginning. So when I'm not test knitting something, I will do whatever the heck I want. I know this isn't probably really shocking to you at this point that I do what I want, but I literally just cast on, and I am not going to run out of yarn because it's me. I don't play yarn chicken, or I do play yarn chicken. I just, whoa, win, hello. Leviathan awakes. Yeah, not yours. So the cat has been fascinated with this project. Something about the Chagu needles and Emily's little stitch markers. Hey, yo, hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Hey. Yes, that's me. That's mine. If you try to bite me, no biting. Something about this combination has made him really happy. Can't tell if it's the little jiggling sounds from the stitch markers or if it's the yarn, but he's been batting the needles around like nobody's business. And yet this yarn is still working marvelously well. If I put this down here, I hope he's not gonna mess with it. So this is squishy, squidgy, and soft. The note I have for you when knitting this shawl is go online and look at the frickin' errata, because the wonderful things he does, Wizard of Oz, anyone? Because there is errata for this. And if you follow me on Instagram, you will know that I did not read it. And that is correct. This is a beautiful book from Laine. It is the 52 Weeks of Shawls book and takes a look at contemporary shawl knitting. It, of course, has 52 patterns from all around the world, and it has quite a wide range of yarns, techniques, and levels of difficulty. And it is a beautiful book. It's beautifully bound, beautifully photographed. There are so many shawls in here that I really, really want to make. Like, there's almost nothing in here that I wouldn't make if I had the opportunity. This is one of my favorites. Just gorgeous, gorgeous shawls. And literally, I mean, it's 52 weeks of shawls. If you had enough time, I don't, but if you had enough time, you could certainly sit there and knit through every single one of these. I love how the schematics are put out. I love the photography is amazing. This is another one. This is the Granada shawl. I hope to make that at some point. I need to find the right yarn though. I want something that I want to knit with. So in here, I was looking for a shawl that would fit. Oh, I was brilliant in the wrong way. So here's the tag, Laine Puno yarns. That's the info on the back there. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I don't know if my camera will focus long enough for you to see it. Surprise, I put it in where I wanted to show you. Who would have thunk? So, I guess I won't throw off anything by showing you this because it has none of the pattern information on it. They have this beautiful spread where they have the picture of the finished product, and then they have a little drawn schematic of how the shawl is sized. So I know that this is a triangular shawl because they have shown me that it is a triangular shawl. And then it goes through the list of everything that you need to create it. It goes through finished measurements and materials. Then it goes through directions and it gives you charts. So the chart that I was working from has an error in it, and technically it wasn't the chart, it was the written instruction had one error in it, and the error was one misplaced yarn over. And when they put the errata online, it simply said that there was a yarn over missing on this row, but enough people made the same mistake of not we all made the same mistake and we all read the errata wrong. And thankfully, someone was smart enough to comment and mention that we were all reading the errata wrong. Isn't that nice though? So this shawl, I cast it on. I got through right here. You start here with a tab, and then you knit down the center spine, and it increases outward to create your triangle shape. Well, I knit to here, about the second repeat, and I noticed that I did not have the correct number of stitches, but when I went through and looked at the work that I had done, it was as was written on the pattern, except for the fact that it wasn't. So I went back and read the errata a second time and found this sweet person's comment who noted that the errata was wrong about the errata and stated exactly what needed to be done. At which point, for the second time, I ripped the shawl all the way back and started from the top with the correct information, and everything went smoothly. Who would have thunk? From top to bottom. So this has been a labor of love, and it has been a wonderful, exciting knit. I'm not going to lie, I have enjoyed this, and I love watching. So it's very dark up here and progresses to this lighter, almost sage green from the olive, and I'm excited to see what it looks like with the lime green at the end. This is this is like my mama in a skein of yarn. Like, she goes from dark textured olive through sagey green undertones, and then she's just like a pop of bright lime color. Like, that is her to a T in a cake of yarn. So I'm working through that. Now that it has all smoothed over, it is going very, very well. I would recommend, I did look up, there is more errata for this book. The real problem is not the errata, it's the reader of it and how you think through logic and problems. I was very tired when I first cast this on and realized that I was making mistakes somehow but couldn't figure out where. That was mistake number 1. Mistake number 2 was continuing to knit even though I knew something was wrong. Mistake number 3 was that I should have looked up the errata at the beginning, and I did not. And mistake number 4 was I just should have read through all the comments. I just should have read through everything that everyone else had written in regard to knitting their shawl, and I didn't, so this is entirely on me. However, we are through that. We are out of the woods and we have smooth sailing. However, I did make one more blunder number 5, and that is before reading the errata the second time and coming to the complete conclusion that I should have the first time. I used a very fine micro pen and I wrote in what I thought was the correction to the lace knitting chart. That was my bad. Did not do it right. I think I need to get some white out and try it again, because I keep having to remember that the first knit stitch is not a yarn over, because I wrote a yarn over in it instead of putting it to the side and just making a note of it. Things you should not do after having been up all day and are being sleep deprived. Do you have any major knitting mishaps? And if so, what are they? Did you learn from them and move on and finish the project, or did you just rip it out in disgust? I am curious to know this information. Anywho, it is raining again. I wish you were mobile. I would turn it so you could see outside. All of our apple trees are getting hit. It's just very picturesque. They're getting hit with this nice mist. It's all green, so pretty. I'll have to see if I can take pictures for you. But anyway, thank you for joining me today and my little fuzzy companion down here. I hope you're having a wonderful day and that it is full of beautifully cold weather and warm fuzzy knits and a hot cup of coffee or tea or whatever you prefer. Thank you for joining me.